What if I told you that working hard is the very thing keeping you trapped, exhausted, and blind to the truth of power? Niccolo Machiavelli understood this centuries ago when he wrote about rulers, not workers, about those who rise above the grind instead of being buried by it. Hard work is what society praises, but is often nothing more than a leash tied to your neck, keeping you obedient and too tired to see the bigger game. In this video, I will reveal to you why working hard is the worst thing you can do if you want real power, real influence, and a life of freedom instead of slavery. These are lessons born from the cunning mind of Machiavelli himself, reframed for the world you live in today. Before we begin, I want you to take a moment and subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you're not just watching another video. You're joining a place where strategy, psychology, and the hidden truths of power are exposed without filters. Now let us dive into the world Machiavelli foresaw, where it is not sweat that wins wars, but intelligence, cunning, and control. Why is working hard trap? Because it convinces you that effort alone is enough, when in reality effort without direction is wasted energy. Machiavelli taught that rulers did not win power by working harder than others. They won by working smarter, by placing themselves in positions where other people's labor served their goals. When you are told to work hard, you are often being told to sacrifice your time, your health, and your spirit for someone else's dream. Look around, the hardest workers in the world are rarely the richest, rarely the most powerful, rarely the ones calling the shots. They're the ones breaking their backs, while the clever strategist sits above them, orchestrating the moves. The truth is simple. Hard work without strategy is slavery disguised as virtue. If you want freedom, if you want real progress, you must rise above the illusion. Machiavelli would remind you that those who only work hard become tools, and those who understand how to direct that work become masters. So ask yourself, are you the tool or the one holding it? Why do so many people glorify hard work? Because society benefits when you believe in it blindly. Machiavelli understood that rulers and leaders keep control by feeding the masses with ideas that make them obedient. If you believe that endless work is noble, you will exhaust yourself chasing approval, never questioning why you are still at the bottom. The clever few who understand the game avoid burning themselves out. They channel their energy into leverage, into influence, into positioning. They may appear to work less, but their results shake the world. Hard work without intelligence is like pouring water into a leaking vessel. No matter how much you give, it never fills. Machiavelli would say that the man who spends all day laboring has no time left to think, and a man who cannot think cannot rule. If you want to rise above the crowd, stop glorifying effort for its own sake and start asking where that effort is really taking you. What happens when you work hard but never step back to see the bigger picture? You get trapped in an endless cycle where effort becomes a substitute for real progress. You wake up early. You push yourself through long hours. You tell yourself that one day it will all pay off. Yet the truth is that you are moving without direction. Machiavelli observed that the masses exhaust themselves with appearances while the powerful focus only on results. If you're constantly busy but never calculating, you're like a soldier who marches endlessly but never arrives at the battlefield. Hard work without strategy is wasted energy. It keeps you occupied, but it does not move you forward. The men of influence Machiavelli studied knew that precision matters more than sweat. They did not scatter their strength everywhere. They chose carefully when to act and when to wait, and in that patience they found victory. You must understand that discipline is not about doing more. It is about knowing exactly where to place your energy so that each move changes the game. If you want real control, stop worshiping endless labor and start building strategic power. That is how you rise above the ordinary. That is how you turn effort into influence. Why do so many people glorify sacrifice yet remain powerless? Because they confuse suffering with strength. You can punish yourself with sleepless nights, endless tasks, and constant exhaustion, But Machiavelli would tell you that no one remembers the man who worked the hardest, only the one who won. The world does not reward pain, it rewards results. If you keep chasing the illusion that effort alone guarantees success, you'll become nothing more than a tool for others who think and plan while you wear yourself down. Machiavelli's insight was clear. Control is not about how much you endure, but about how much you can bend the world to your will. A king who never rests will eventually collapse, but a king who chooses wisely when to act and when to hold back remains untouchable. You must learn to see beyond the pride of being busy and instead embrace the clarity of being effective. Hard work without direction makes you replaceable, but strategy makes you unforgettable. The choice is simple. Do you want to be exhausted or do you want to be powerful? Most people are taught from childhood that working harder than everyone else is the key to success. Wake up earlier, stay up later, sacrifice everything for your grind. But Machiavelli would tell you that this belief is a trap designed to keep you in chains. Hard work without direction is nothing more than slavery dressed as ambition. You sweat, you bleed, and yet you remain at the bottom while those above you grow stronger by feeding on your effort. Look at history. The men who shaped nations were not the ones breaking their backs from sunrise to sunset. They were the ones who directed others, who used patience, cunning, and strategy to bend reality to their will. Hard work may fill your days, but it empties your mind. It keeps you too tired to question, too busy to think, too distracted to notice that someone else is deciding your fate. That is why Machiavelli taught that power belongs to the strategist, not the worker. The man who knows when to wait, when to move, and when to strike will always stand above the man who only knows how to toil. True discipline is not about forcing yourself into endless labor. It is about controlling yourself, resisting the urge to waste energy, and focusing only on actions that matter. The world rewards results, not effort. No one remembers the man who worked the hardest, but everyone remembers the one who moved with precision and changed everything. So when you hear people glorify hard work as the answer to all problems, ask yourself, who benefits from that mindset? The one who works endlessly, or the one who reaps the fruit of his labor? Machiavelli understood that blind effort creates predictable men, and predictable men are easily controlled. The worker who never questions, who never pauses to think, becomes a pawn on someone else's board. He may be praised for his sacrifice, but praise does not equal power. In fact, praise is often the very leash that keeps him obedient. The truth is, hard work only has value when it is attached to leverage. A single clever move, made at the right time, can outweigh years of pointless struggle. This is why Machiavelli urged rulers to appear industrious, while secretly conserving their strength for decisive actions. In your own life, this means learning to cut away distractions, rejecting the false honor of constant grinding, and mastering the art of patience. It is not how much you do, it is how much of what you do changes the game. When you shift your thinking from effort to impact, from working harder to working smarter, you begin to separate yourself from the masses who exhaust themselves and die unnoticed. That is the cruel truth Machiavelli saw clearly, and it is the truth that can set you free. You have been taught since childhood that hard work is the highest virtue, that grinding longer and sacrificing more will eventually reward you. But Machiavelli would tell you that this is the mindset of pawns, not princes. Power is never given to the one who works the hardest. It is claimed by the one who works the smartest. The man who masters strategy can bend the efforts of others to his will, while the man who only knows sweat and struggle dies, exhausted with nothing to show for it. That is the cruel truth of this world. You're not here to break your back for scraps. You are here to understand where power hides and how to claim it with precision. Remember this. In the game of life, the strongest piece is not the hardest worker, it is the one who knows when to move, when to hold, and when to strike. Do not waste your years trying to prove your worth through endless effort. Learn the laws of power, sharpen your strategy, and step above the crowd that slaves blindly. That is what Machiavelli demands of you. If this message reached you, subscribe to Psyvoria, because the world will never tell you these truths, but here you will always hear them.